Hello all. In this video session we will be discussing a structured program. Now, the program is to create a structured student with uh, members, roll number, name, mark of six subjects. Then we have to read details of n students, and then after that we have to find their total mark and print their details in the descending order of their marks. That is, we have to print their details based on their rank. First rank will be printed first. That is, the student with highest mark will be printed first. Okay, now this is our program. So first we include the studio.h file, header file. Then I have defined a constant subcount which is given the value 6, that is for storing the number of subjects. Then I have defined a struct student, and the members are roll number, name, then mark of subcount, therefore reading mark of six subjects, then a total for storing the sum of all the marks. Okay, now inside main, in this first, for example, I have only considered reading and printing details of one single student. Okay, so first I have declared the structure variable as struct student s, then j for iterating through the mark array. Then I have read the roll number, then I have read the name, then after that using for loop I have read all the marks. Then I have initialized s dot total equal to 0. Then again using the for loop, that is for j equal to 0, j less than subcount plus j, I have found out the total, that is the sum of all the marks in mark array. Okay, and after that I have used the printf statement for printing roll number from s dot roll number, name from s dot name, and total marks from s dot total. Okay, I'm just going to compile it. Okay, then I'm going to run it. Okay, I'm just going to enter the roll number 1. Then I'm just going to give the name Ebin, and then mark, let's say, give 7. Okay, I'm just going to give some small numbers. Consider that the mark is out of 10. I'm just going to give 7, 8, 6, 9, let's say 5, then again a 9. Okay, so the total mark is 44, right? 15, 21, 30, 35. Okay, total marks is 44. Okay, now I'm just going to come here, and then I'm just now here I'm going to modify it so that I can find, or I can read details of n students. Okay, now for that, since I require n students, I should read the number of students. Okay, now also I have to allocate memory for storing the details of those much students. So just I'm going to define a hash define max, let's say of 100, and I am going to define or allocate memory for 100 such student variables. Okay, there is 100 student structure variables. Okay, now the user will read, okay, from the user you will read the number of students. Okay, enter the number of students and scanf. Okay, it is integer value, so percentage d, then it is to be read to, it is to be stored in the variable n. So now I'm going to declare n here. So here is n, and then after that we have to read details of these details n times. So it is achieved by using a for loop, and for that now I am just using the variable I. So here the statement will take place how many times for all the students. So I'm just going to write this inside a I loop for I equal to 0, I less than n plus I. Then I'm just going to do this how many times? N times. Okay, now again this process is also, you can either do it in this particular, you can execute these statements in one single for loop, or you can do it using two for loops. For the time being, I'm just going to implement it in using two, or for these statements I am going to use a for loop, and for these statements I am going to use a for loop. You can also use one for loop for executing all these statements, but for simplicity I'm just going to use one for loop here, then another for loop for printing this. Okay, now so I'm just going to copy this for loop, this control C and then control V, and this is done inside here. Okay, then now printing, also I'm just going to paste this, and I'm just to provide indentation, and then after that I have just okay now this is printf, let's say student percentage d slash n. Okay, so it is I plus 1. Okay, so it will work. Okay, so these are the modifications done. So I have just modified so that it will read details of n students, then it will compute the total of n students, then after that it will print the details of n students. Okay, so I'm just going to save this, and then I will compile it. If there are any errors, we'll see that. Okay, there are a lot of errors. Okay, so what are the errors? I have changed this structure variable to an array of structures, and so I have to make modifications accordingly. So all s values have to be changed to s of I. Okay, so all this, so I am copying this, and here also I am putting it, then here also, then here also, and here, here, okay, we are using array of structures, so we have to give s of I. Okay, so that is one mistake I made, and we have modified it. Now let's clear this and then compile one more time. Okay, no more errors. Then I'm going to run this program. Okay, I'm just going to give number of students as 2, and I'm just going to enter roll number 1. Then I'm going to give Abin mark 1, 3, 5, 6, 7. Okay, I'm just going to give and then enter the roll number of second student. That is, I'm just going to give 2. Let's give Ashwadi and mark, let's say 6, 7, 3, 5, 8, 9. Okay, so we have student 1 who is having the roll number 1. My name is Ebin, mark 27. Then student 2, roll number 2, Ashwadi, and total mark is 30. Okay, so it has printed correctly. Now the next modification that we should do is that we should sort the structure based on their mark. That is, the highest mark should be placed first. Okay, and for that we will be using the logic used for bubble sort. Okay, so you remember the bubble sort, right? Okay, now for bubble sort we will be using 4 variables. Okay, so now inside this I will be using, okay, this is the logic for bubble sort. For I equal to 0 semicolon, I less than n minus 1 semicolon plus plus I, and then inside that I loop there is for j equal to 0, then j less than n minus 1. Okay, now in the ith iteration the last I elements will be sorted, so we doesn't require to consider those elements. So I'm just going to give n minus I minus 1, then semicolon, then plus plus j. Okay, so this is the logic used for bubble sort. Then after that usually compare to adjacent elements, right? So you will be comparing, for example, if you consider the array S, you will be comparing S of s of j with s of j. Since this is descending order, I am just going to give less than, that is s of j. If s of j is less than s of j plus 1, we will be interchanging, right? Okay, and in this we will be comparing the mark, so I am just going to give s of j of total less than s of j1 plus j, s of j plus 1 dot total. Okay, I will be comparing this, and if it is true, then we will be interchange the structure variable, that is temp equal to s of j, that s of j is equal to s of j plus 1, s of j plus 1 will be equal to temp. Okay, for swapping, and for swapping there actually in bubble sort, when we perform bubble sort on arrays, one dimensional arrays, temp was an integer variable, but here we are interchanging the values of, or the content of the structure variable, so this temp should be of type structure student. So I'm just going to declare temp as a structure variable, that is student structure variable. Okay, so now here says the two loops for bubble sort, then inside that I will be comparing s of j dot total less than s of j plus 1 dot total less than, means we are actually sorting in a descending order, so if the elements in the left side are smaller, then we have to make interchanges. Okay, so I have made this change. Okay, now it will sort according to the total mark of students. Okay, I'm just going to save this, and I'm just going to clear this, compile this to see if there are any errors. No errors, so I'll just run it. So number of students, I'm just going to give 2, 1. I'm just going to give a bin, so 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6. Okay, next is roll number 2. I'm just give Ashwati. I'm just going to give let's say 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. Okay, and here Eben has the total mark, higher mark, so Eben is printed first. Okay, now we will try one more example, and okay, I'm just running it. 2 students, so again roll number 1. I'm just going to give Eben, then mark, let's say 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, and 6, and roll number 2. I'm just going to give Ashwati, and the marker 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7. Okay, now in this case Ashwati has highest mark, so Ashwati will be printed first. Okay, so this is the logic that we use for printing based on their marks. Okay, now consider that so this is the logic for sorting the structure array in descending order of marks. Okay, so this is the logic for sorting the structure array elements in descending order. Okay, so now consider that the question is like, you should sort, or you should print the details of the student in the alphabetic order of their names. How you can do that? Okay, so for that we'll be doing something. Okay, I'm just going to comment these statements, and then logic for sorting students based on their name. Okay, so for that I'll be using this statement, and the only thing that I will be doing is, okay, I'm just copying this statement, and the only thing that here we will be checking the name. Okay, for checking the name for string comparison, actually string comparison is defined inside string.h, so I'm just going to include that file, and after that I'm just going to do here string comparison Okay, if you want to perform in case insensitive string comparison, you can give I. If you are performing case sensitive comparison, then you can give strcmp. Then here we will be considering not total, then name, and it is again combined with s of j plus 1 dot name. Okay, and now when its ASCII values are subtracted, if it is greater than 0, that means this should come after this, that is, it is not in the order, then this swapping will take place. Okay, so this format will be used: string comparison of s of j dot name comma s of j plus 1 dot name greater than 0. Okay, so I have just saved it, and I'll just test this how this will work. Okay, so this is for sorting the structure or details of the students based on the value stored in their member name. Okay, so I'm just going to, okay, I have saved this, and I'm just going to compile this, and I'm just going to clear this, and I'm running the file. KTU students, roll number 1. So I'm just going to give AB, and I'm just going to give 4. Okay, now the next name is, let's say, AA. Okay, 2, I'm just going to give AA, and I'm just going to give the marks 7, 7, 7, 7, 7. And if you observe here, this is the first which comes in the alphabetic order, so it is printed first, and it AB comes in the second in the alphabetic order, so it is printed next. Okay, so this is the logic used for printing students based on their number, based on their name. Okay, based on their name. So if you want to print details of student in the alphabetic order of their name, this is the logic that we will be using. This is the same logic used for bubble sort, and here the string comparison is done between s of j dot name and s of j plus 1 dot name, and is greater than 0, that is, if they are not in the order, then swapping is done. Okay, so this is how we display details of the student in the alphabetic order of their names. Okay, thank you then.